Crypto policy is red hot. Companies are buying Bitcoin, but the retail market feels half asleep. So why are builders more bullish than the charts? Welcome to State of the Chains, your weekly review of the laws, policies, and companies embracing crypto from the base layer up. The crypto market cap is at $3.3 trillion. I'm Ari, and here are the top stories for the week of Monday, May 12th. So let's get into it. I have to start by sharing this kind of dislocation in sentiment that I'm seeing as somebody inside of the crypto industry versus what I'm seeing or not seeing from what I have expected to be seeing at this stage of the market cycle from friends, from family, from just regular people who should be more interested in these assets. Let's look at this chart. This is Google Trends looking at the search term buy Bitcoin over the last 5 years. And you can see that the last time we hit a full 100 was way back in February, I think November and February of 2020, 2021. That's back when we had an all-time high last time around, right? Bitcoin hit about $69,000, $70,000. This, all the way over here, where we get to a 43 out of 100, is around the time when we hit the most recent all-time high past $100,000. And right here today at 13 out of 100 is the current market sentiment. Regular people are just not interested, are not buying, are not searching to learn more about the industry, about Bitcoin, about these assets. Look, it is what it is, but it's unfortunate because what I think will likely happen is people don't want to buy now. They're going to chase the price, and only when Bitcoin hits 150,000, 200,000, who knows, will people start coming to you and me and asking, oh, is now a great time to buy Bitcoin, right? I remember in the last month or so or two, when Bitcoin went down to 70,000, no one was talking about buying. Everyone said that it's over. Only now are people starting to be interested again. I have a few friends who are asking me. So I guess it is what it is. This is how it works, but it's just an unfortunate observation of kind of where we are in the cycle and how human nature works. I'd like to also highlight this really great graphic from River. River is a US-based exchange that's focused solely on buying Bitcoin. They have some great graphics, and this shows the change in Bitcoin ownership in 2025. The stark difference that you can see is nearly 250,000 Bitcoin have been sold by individuals. They're the ones selling, and who's buying? Everyone else. Governments are buying a little bit. Other funds, right? The Bitcoin ETFs continue to buy Bitcoin. But the real outlier here, and this is what we're going to talk about today, are businesses. They have purchased 157,000 Bitcoin only so far this year. And that's where we're seeing a ton of focus right now. This is where the interest is. It's in the corporate adoption of Bitcoin during this cycle. And today I want to highlight two stories because they're really interesting. So we spoke last week about MicroStrategy, now called Strategy, that's kind of been the leader in adding Bitcoin on their public balance sheets. There are two companies today that are starting to kind of nip at the heels, or they want to nip at the heels at MicroStrategy. The first one was recently announced as 21 Capital. It's a few big players in the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem coming together. One is Tether, one of the most successful companies, not just in the crypto space, but also in the world in terms of how profitable they are, especially per employee. So they are working with Jack Mallers from the company Strike to create a new company called 21 with their expressed goal of purchasing, I guess to start with, 42,000 Bitcoin, and we'll see what happens after that. How is it happening? They're doing a SPAC merger with Cantor Equity Partners. I guess Cantor Equity Partners are already on the public markets. So we're waiting for this merger to be accepted. But and once that happens, I guess it's off to the races. Once it actually goes live, the ticker is going to be XXI. I guess 21 in Roman numerals. One other thing I wanted to point out by this is that one of the main investors putting nearly $1 billion, 900 million, is the Japanese investment company SoftBank. right? They're a very well-respected kind of behemoth for a lot of their successful investments in the past, but they've always been in the more traditional investment space, not in crypto or Bitcoin or stablecoins. So this is a really interesting signal to the markets. If this happens now, we can only bet that people are looking to see what happens next. I expect to see a lot more traditional capital starting to come into, at the very least, purchasing Bitcoin and getting more access to Bitcoin and the potential upsides of other crypto assets. The second company that I wanted to highlight is called Nakamoto. So David Bailey made the announcement a few days ago. He is, among other things, the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine. And Nakamoto is going to be merging with Kindly MD, which is a public company, and they have expressed interest in creating an ecosystem of Bitcoin native companies, from what I understand, globally, which means that folks, no matter where you are in the world, maybe you can't buy a stock in the US stock market, but you're based in India, or you're in Brazil, or you're in Saudi Arabia, you can buy a stock on your local market, and that stock, that company, will, I guess, be connected to Nakamoto and give you access to Bitcoin. Again, we're seeing this massive influx of companies who want to get more access to Bitcoin and add them to their both private and public balance sheets. And I have a little idea as to why. So I mentioned this company last week, but here's a great visual that helps everyone understand how powerful this is. So this company is called Metaplanet. They announced in, I think, April of 2024 that they were going to start buying Bitcoin and adding it to their balance sheets, right? This is based in Japan. And in April, May, they started buying it. So let's look at the price back then. March, April, May, about 30 yen per share. And since then, it's been off to the races. Look at this. This is nearly two, I guess it depends on exactly where you start the marker from, but over, between 2,000 and 3,000% increase in stock price in the last essentially year and a half, because of their expressed interest in being a Bitcoin holding company, adding Bitcoin to their treasury. So why, right? Why doesn't someone in Japan simply buy Bitcoin directly? Look, every country has different rules, regulations, tax policies, and one of the things that I learned about Japan is that if you buy and sell Bitcoin directly, first of all, it's hard, it's expensive, the spreads are quite wide, so you lose a lot of money simply on the purchase and the sale. But beyond that, you pay a ton of taxes when you sell Bitcoin directly, assuming that you've made a gain on that investment. But if you buy and sell a stock locally, the tax that you have to pay is much lower. So this is giving thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of folks, if not millions, access to Bitcoin's potential upside in their retirement portfolios, in their general investments, without having to pay as much on taxes if they want to sell some of it to gain access to that capital. So what we're seeing is companies like Nakamoto tapping into exactly that concept, right? Giving people access in whatever country they're based in to the potential upside in Bitcoin's price action, but in a way that kind of recognizes the local regulations and tax policies. And the last thing that I want to highlight in this segment is this really great tracker, bitcointreasuries.net. I'm going to include it in the show notes, and it is a pretty up-to-date tracker of every corporation and government entity that either holds Bitcoin directly or has it indirectly through custodians. So kind of what I would expect to see. You've got MicroStrategy at the top. You've got Marathon Holdings. They're a big Bitcoin miner based in the United States. This looks like it's 21 as soon as that officially goes through. And I think down here too, yes, Metaplanet, right? They went from kind of nowhere on a chart like this to being within the top, I think it's like the top 13th. Semler, I also mentioned last week as well. So this is a really interesting move forward, and we'll continue to see this, but feel free to go to this chart, check it out. It's really fun to go through. There's a ton of really great information here, and I'm sure it will be continuously updated over time. Okay, so I wanted to just close out one thing that we discussed last week, which is the Genius Act, which is the Stablecoin Bill that was supposed to get passed by the Senate. It wasn't. It was brought up again. I understand it's changed a little, or they've added a few potential amendments. So from what I understand now, S-1582, or the Genius Act, should come up for vote in the Senate at the beginning of next week, so on Monday. Well, so essentially probably tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this. This is according to a few sources, including the Senate Cloakroom's Twitter account, that says that it's finally moving forward. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I really hope that this Congress manages to pass a stablecoin bill. The entire industry, the world, is craving for some legitimate regulation and legislation that helps kind of level the playing field to protect consumers, but give companies the opportunity to innovate and to bring these truly powerful assets to the world, because it's so desperately wanted. As I shared last week, right? The current Secretary of the U.S. Secretary of Treasury expects a demand of up to $2 trillion in stablecoins, right? U.S. dollar through stablecoins within the next few years. So let's do this. Okay, I have to give a shout out to Coinbase, because this week we learned that Coinbase is going to be added to the S&P, right? The 500 largest companies in the United States. They don't just get added automatically. There are specific things that have to, kind of boxes that have to be checked to be added to this benchmark. This is the first crypto company, hopefully the first of many, to be added to the S&P benchmark. So if you own any stocks, especially if you own the S&P in your retirement accounts or in your personal investment accounts, you are about to also get exposure to Coinbase and to Bitcoin, because I know that they have Bitcoin, they have Ethereum, they have a few other things on their balance sheets as well. So congratulations, Coinbase, hopefully the first of many. And the last story I wanted to highlight, Dubai is tapping Crypto.com to enable crypto payments for government services. Usually I don't like to share an announcement of an announcement. It's better once things actually go live. But I wanted to highlight this because it shows the direction that people are going. It looks like down here, right? Individuals and business customers of government entities can pay service fees through Crypto.com with one of Crypto.com's digital wallets, and that it will be auto-converted into, I guess, the local currency of in Dubai, in dirhams. Now, I wish that this wasn't through a centralized provider. It makes more sense if anybody with a crypto wallet, especially if you self-custody, can also pay that way, but I guess it's baby steps. It's a great start to see. I expect to see over time many more governments, local, statewide, national, accepting crypto in different ways. It might just be in stablecoins. It might also be in things like Bitcoin. I know a few governments and states have considered that as well. So I know that we're just getting started, but it's pretty exciting to see how quickly states, governments, corporations are really charging ahead in terms of crypto and Bitcoin adoption. So I guess my message is, if you're not feeling particularly bullish this week or excited, try to just stick with whatever strategy you have. Don't give up. Things are happening behind the scenes, and it's just going to be an incredibly exciting coming months and years. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you learned something today, please share it. And if I missed something, please tell me, comment below, and let me know. And remember, crypto may run on code, but it's governed by you and by me. See you next week.